Welcome to another NCIXPC Systems edition of NCIX Tech Tips with the 506IA, which is basically taking the concept of the original BitFenix Prodigy, giving it a facelift both on the outside and on the inside to deliver more performance per cubic foot. As always, we're going to start with a tour of the outside of the 506IA system. Now, the only real similarities that it bears to the Prodigy are going to be found once you open it up, because BitFenix has completely redesigned the front panel. It's very, very flat, which maintains that minimalistic look that they have on many of their cases, such as their Shinobi line. But don't worry, guys, ventilation is going to be handled from the sides of the front right here. This has proven to be an effective way of getting enough air into a system without actually having as much noise transmitted directly to the end user, who generally sits in front of the system. So really, I approve of this approach. On the top, we find dual 120mm exhaust with a convenient little button here that allows you to lift it up and gain access to those fans, which are being used as an intake directly onto the graphics card area of the inside right now. You can configure it in different ways, but I spoke to the crazy Russian about this directly, and he assured me that this was the best balance of temperatures and acoustics from their internal testing. Now, on the side, we see that it no longer has, see, look at that, no ventilation hole. So that's another change from the Prodigy, because there's no graphics card sitting next to the side panel anymore. So we no longer need that, because we are able to get ventilation to the graphics card on the top. On the bottom, we find feet. Okay. What's that? A power supply. The power supply is actually located in the front of the case, which means that the back panel has actually been completely redesigned as well. So you can either mount a 120 or 140mm fan back here with, actually, this is kind of an innovative mount. So they've only got one fan hole here, and then you can either use the three other ones that correspond to 140 or the three other ones that correspond to 120. This one's got just a simple 120mm fan. Ah, yes, a Tough Series motherboard provides the I/O as well as a GTX 760, providing, well, more I/O for, video and whatnot. And then we see at the back, the power cord, don't worry guys, still goes into the back. There's just a pass-through to the power supply inside, which I'll show you in a moment. Now it's time to open the system up and find out what's really going on to make this baby tick. Now, the first thing that we're going to notice that I had sort of forgotten about is that, much like the Prodigy, the I/O is on the side. So those two USB 3.0 ports and front panel audio connectors, as well as power and reset switches, are attached via cables that are now attached to the internals. So all you're really going to be able to see on this side is the back of the motherboard tray, which you can see is now vertical and not horizontal, with an extremely large CPU cutout, allowing you to easily install any CPU cooler you'd want without removing the motherboard from the system once it is assembled. Then we move over to the other side where, ah yes folks, now we start to see some of the Prodigy heritage from before. So the front panel of the case, even though the plastic on the front has been replaced, you can see still has all those mounting holes for large fans of the original Prodigy, but obviously you can't put anything in there because the power supply is installed. So there's our dual 120mm fans that are being used as intakes. There's our EVGA GTX 760, and man, have they done a good job in this generation of making their graphics cards look extremely sexy, which to me is more of a selling feature than you guys might think. We've also got a Kingston 120GB SSD now V300 in here, and you can see that the way that they've set up the mounting configurations, you can either put in hard drives with noise isolating rubber grommets, you can throw a couple of those on there, or you can put in SSDs simply by inserting them onto these two pegs right here and then doing up two screws. So this system ships with an SSD, and you don't see how, oh wait, there is a hard drive. There's a WD Green 3TB hard drive hiding down here in the bottom. This is similar to the original Prodigy as well, taking advantage of some of those mounting holes. And then if you really peek inside there, you can see 8 gigs of Kingston blue, black DDR3 memory, as well as a Corsair H60 liquid cooler that's being run in a push-pull configuration as an exhaust for the system. So the intake is coming in from the top, and then the exhaust is going out the bottom. And then finally, if you really peer in there, you can see the Sabertooth Gryphon MATX Tough Series board, which features the same advanced thermal monitoring as well as fan control as other Tough Series boards, as well as that epic 5-year warranty. Then rounding out the config, at the very heart of it, is a Core i5 4670K, so that's a non-hyper-threaded processor, but it is pretty much for gaming applications as fast as it gets, because many games don't benefit from more than 2 cores, let alone 4. However, that may be about to change with some upcoming technologies that should be allowing future games like Battlefield 4 to take advantage of as much as 8 threads. So stay tuned for that, guys. So in conclusion, with the 506IA, with the help of BitFenix, NCIX has addressed the problem that people had with Prodigy-based systems, which was that it just didn't really have enough expansion card slots. I mean, you could put a bunch of hard drives in it, but it was quite big for what was an MITX-based case. Now we get MATX, which means up to 4 expansion slots, so you can run SLI or Crossfire configurations in that same form factor that we had before with the Prodigy, except without even the Mac Pro-esque handles on the bottom and the top, and without making the case bigger in any dimension. You also get a free copy of Batman Arkham Origins to go along with your GTX graphics card, so you'll be gaming right out of the gate once it arrives. Thanks for checking out this PC Systems edition of NCIX Tech Tips, and as always, don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this from NCIX.com.